Good day. Welcome to another episode of Primetimes with Attorney Leah. Today, we are very much honored to have guests that would help us delve into digital technology and how it would transcend to the Philippine elections this 2025. Let us all welcome Cho Song Ray, or known as Ken, Vice President of Miru Systems Ltd. Welcome to Manila Times and welcome again to the Philippines.
Okay, thank you for having me here.
I want to congratulate Miru Systems Ltd on securing the bid for the Philippines 2025 elections.
Okay, thank you.
So, very briefly, can you tell our viewers what is Miru Systems and what is your actual expertise that would have the Philippines deserve a fair, reliable, and accountable elections this upcoming elections?
Miru Systems has been in business since 1999. So Miru is about a 25-year-old company. Miru is technical-oriented company. We started business with high-speed scanners. We're the only handful of company who actually design and develop high-speed scanners. And utilizing that technology into elections systems, we started our elections business since 2005. So we have almost 2 decades of experience in elections business. So we have gained a lot of experiences, which we also learned a lot of processes that are particular to elections, which is very, very sensitive. And we feel highly responsible for making sure that we provide very accurate and reliable devices, because the election is fair election is very essential to the democracy.
Okay. Like you said, an election is very vital to a democratic process,
Yes,
right, Ken?
that's correct.
So what sets Miru Systems apart from the other providers, not only in the Philippines, because you've already won your contract here, but with your previous electoral engagements internationally, what sets Miru Systems apart from them?
Well, besides having experiences in various countries, including Korea, Kyrgyzstan, Iraq, Russia, Congo, we have 4 or 5 other countries as well. We actually are different from other countries, other companies, because we design, develop, and manufacture our devices.
You manufacture your devices in
Yes,
and out,
that's
like the
correct.
software, the hardware.
Both software and hardware.
Okay.
Yes.
You've mentioned an enumeration of the other countries, the other electoral engagements that you've already had.
Yes.
Can you tell us briefly, what were the major, well, not major, but what were the challenges that you have had before with these countries that might have been in light as issues here now in our country?
Well, each country has their own requirements. It's like buying a car, for example. I mean, some people prefers SUV versus sedans. Each country has different requirements that fits that's tailored to their own culture and the public acceptance. And it's trying to understand their social, political situations, as well as their requirements fitting into those that environment.
Can you honestly say that the problems that you've encountered before
Yes.
in those international engagements that you've had, were you able to remedy it? Were you able to address the same into really ensuring that that particular country have a fair election in the process?
Yes. The first thing is that we try to understand the requirements and processes that each country's elections commission's requirements, and through a lot of collaboration between the election commissions and our staff, we get to understand each other and make sure that we do provide the proper solutions to the elections commissions and for the country of that elections commission.
It's an interesting point that you've talked about that. Before I go into the actual technology of Miru Systems and its reliability, let me ask you, do you think that the requirements of the Philippines differ from other countries, or is it a different process for Miru Systems to actually provide something big, because this is the national elections we're talking about, Ken. We're not just talking about the SK and the barangay elections, which are included as well. But do you think the Philippines poses a challenging kind of terrain for Miru Systems at this point?
Definitely. Philippines' requirements is much more comprehensive. And actually more complicated in some ways. Although the devices and the server side, like EMS, CCS, those type of solutions, they're similar with other countries, but the requirements here in Philippines is a lot more. It's a lot more complicated as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're talking also about the compliances,
Yes,
the paperwork, but then concerns have been raised about the reliability of Miru Systems technology in safeguarding against fraud and manipulation, like in Iraq and Congo. I have to get into this because this is very important, because a lot of allegations have been arisen lately about Iraq and Congo. How does the company plan to address these concerns and assure the Filipino kababayans that the election would be full of integrity, that it would be reliable? And can you tell us briefly, if allegations were true about malfunctioning equipment? Because we've heard, I've researched that in this particular countries, like in Iraq and Congo, there were some malfunctioning equipment that may have been raised. How do you plan to address that if it happens here in the Philippines, sir?
There are allegations. I've heard about those, especially a lot more here in the Philippines. They're usually like, I don't know if I could use that word, but it's like fake news. That's mostly politically motivated, or maybe some competitors, they want to perhaps tarnish our image, make it a little more difficult for us. For manipulating the results, things like that, we just don't do that. We take big pride in keeping integrity.
May I ask, Ken, were there any malfunctioning equipment in any of those countries mentioned?
Oh yeah, sure. It's not perfect. I mean, nothing's perfect. Even if, for example, like cars made by GM or Tesla, I mean, there'll be few vehicles that would have some malfunction parts, and just like them. I mean, even with those big companies, with us, of course, there will be a few, but by far, I'm sure we have much lower rate of malfunctioning devices than other companies.
You've handled how many elections in Korea already, Ken?
We handled five national elections in Korea, and we handled 3 national elections in Iraq, 3 consecutive. By the way, they're all consecutive, and 2 national elections in DR Congo.
Did any of these countries ever attest to the fact that you've said that yes, you did ensure that there was reliability on the devices given? Did these countries actually substantiate or justify that fact that you've just said?
Yes. In fact, just the last 2 elections, last election in Iraq and election in DR Congo, we have statements, official statements made by for Iraq. Official statement was made by the Prime Minister, stating that the election was very successful, for DR Congo, the chairman of the Elections Commission, which is Seni, he also officially stated that the election was very successful.
Given that this is another animal for Miru Systems, the Philippines,
Yes.
right? We could say that it is an entirely different terrain for you. How can you ensure that all across the Philippines, our whole nation, would get to enjoy an easier process of voting? Because that's a problem here in the Philippines, Ken. I'm sure that you've already heard that previous voting systems here in the Philippines, long lines, paper jams, and all that normal hiccups, so to speak.
I see.
How can Miru Systems provide an easier way to have voters go into the voting booths and say, okay, this is different. This is actually something we would want again in the future?
We started our business making high-speed scanners. So first of all, well, this ACM has the scanning part, which scans much quicker than any other competitor's device. That's one. And also we have really our own technology that we incorporate into the devices, which has the auto alignment, which what we call auto alignment. That's usually applied in the banking industry. Okay, so it'll actually strain the ballot paper when it's fed in. So there's almost no chance of it being jammed.
So you think it would be easier now?
It would be much easier, and also we have very friendly user interface, and this device also has the touch screen, so it would be very easy for the voters.
Okay. Ken, you have to forgive me in advance, but I have to ask this question. Yes. Miru Systems have been accused of having ties to certain political entities here in our country, and raising questions about impartiality and independence. How does Miru Systems address these allegations and ensure neutrality? Because once we go into the 2025 Philippine elections, this would be big. This is not just officials handling local units, but we are talking about national elections. And here in the Philippines, we want our right to suffrage be given the proper decorum that it deserves. How do you, the Miru Systems Ltd, how does it address the accusations that you have this political alliance?
This isn't our first time that we've been here. We pursued this opportunity with the Comelec project since 2009, about 15 years ago. So this is our third try. If you had some kind of connection with the political figure, I think we would have won the project sooner, much sooner.
So this was your third try?
Third try, yeah.
So the first try was when?
2009.
2009?
Yes.
You failed? You were disqualified, or what happened?
No, we weren't even given the opportunity to submit our proposal.
So when was the second time?
The second time was in 2015. We did submit our proposal, but the predecessor somehow canceled, or with the Comelec canceled the bidding.
So now, your successful bid has gotten in, correct?
And then, but we failed during the first bid.
What happened during the process? If you can just briefly, why were you disqualified during the first onset?
Because of a couple of documents were not sufficient enough.
Paperwork.
Yeah, paperwork, yes.
But then you remedied it.
Yes, that's right.
So, I have to ask you categorically, Ken, do you have any political alliance here in our country? And if so, if yes, who? If none, how would you address this, allegations moving forward?
No, like I was mentioning to you that it took us so long to get here. if he knew any political figure, um, I think things would have been much easier for us. It took, yeah. So that's totally false.
Okay.
Yes.
Ken, in light of the UN's assessment of your participation during Congo's election,
Yes.
can you tell us briefly why did UN give such assessment? And are you planning to have those positive outcomes from said assessment be translated here in the Philippine elections this 2025?
DR Congo, we provided our device, which was very, the general population in Congo um, don't have high education, or a lot of them are illiterate, but still they were able to use our voting device to vote, and they were very satisfied and they were very accurate. The results were very reliable because DR Congo used our voting system for the first time, and actually that changed the presidency. So people were fully trusting. So we're going to do the same thing here. Then we'll make sure that we provide accurate and reliable device here.
Can you share to our viewers, Ken, did Congo get Miru Systems again on the next election? Or if yes, was it a last time that they got you, your company, or were they repeat customers, so to speak?
Yeah, they're all repeat customers. DR Congo, although there was a change in presidency during the first election in 2018 with our device, they repeated using our device for 2023 election, which was last year. And same thing with Iraq. The 3 consecutive national elections, they relied on our devices.
Ken, is Miru Systems tired of this allegations repeatedly coming up all the time? Why do you think that this issue about Congo and Iraq keep on rising?
Yeah.
Especially so when you already won a bidding contract that you've complied with religiously.
I think it's not just us. Even if any company who would actually win the project and actually have successfully completed the election, I think they're all prone to be being shot at because, like I said, there would be people who would be politically motivated, who generally are people who lost, or there would be other competitors who would want to, damage your image. So I think it's not just us, but any other company would have the same thing. But I think we have it more because we're more technically oriented company. We don't do PR very much. Actually, not at all. Actually, we have not been. But here in the Philippines, the situation's a lot more different here. Usually with other countries, after the election, after 2 to 3 weeks, all those negative articles that are purposely fed by for organization or persons who would want to discredit us.
Okay.
Here, I think we have to be more concentrated in PR side as well.
So it's more of an external force.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Speaking of external forces, can Miru Systems provide insights into its approach to cybersecurity, particularly in safeguarding voter data and preventing external interference during this 2025 elections, like with Russia, with allegations that Russia sabotaging the U.S. Elections? How can you make sure that it would not happen here in our country? Do you guys have safeguards? Do you guys have protocols? Yeah. Lead me into that path, Ken.
Yeah, I'm not a security expert per se, because although I have an engineering background, I probably our CTO might be able to answer that better, but I can tell you that for one, our devices will be totally isolated from any network connections, even Wi-Fi or wireless or cable-wise. And also on transmitting the vote results. We encrypt all our data using AES 256, I believe. So during the transmission and receiving back at the data center, they're all encrypted, so it'd be almost impossible to to try to sabotage the data.
Okay, we're talking about security here, Ken. So we really have to ensure that the integrity of the elections is in place. Do you have backup plans? Do you have any, protocols just to, safeguard anything that might be challenging or poses difficulties during this 2025 elections?
Yes, we are following closely to Comelec's requirements. So we do collaborate with them, but we do have securities experts who have many years of experience with Samsung Electronics and security companies.
Did Comelec integrate any unique patterns here in the 2025 elections so that it would ensure more integrity, more security, more strategic information that can be integrated further with the reliability of your devices?
Yes, I think they, not only they themselves, but they also have other agencies reviewing. For example, I think that they have something what other countries don't have, such as local source code review. It lasts 7 months, I think. So with all other agencies getting involved and collaborating together, I think they would make sure that security issue is make sure that that doesn't become an issue.
Since we're talking about security here, would Miru Systems be amenable to have their security processes checked by other people if need be?
If it's needed, we would open up some parts of source code for different agencies or different professionals to review.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned earlier about fake news.
Yes.
Right? And I think Miru Systems have had a handful of fake news, not just here maybe in the Philippines, but also with the other international engagements that you've had before. How would Miru Systems address any electoral misinformations that would be coming about, because it's inevitable, and misinformation would happen? How would Miru Systems address this to ensure that the integrity of your devices and that of the electoral process not be hindered by any of those?
Yeah, that's a pretty challenging question for us. I mean, it's a homework for us because it's kind of new to us that we have to make. With the previous projects with other countries, we only have to focus on our on technology and how make sure that we ensure that we provide good devices with good solutions without any problems. But here, you did mention about the fake news, and we have to be also very attentive on the PR side. That's why we have our local partners who can help us with that, so that we can focus more on the technical side.
Okay, from fake news, let's go to the real news.
Yes.
Recently, Miru Systems and a couple of election officers took a trip to South Korea. Can you enlighten our viewers about that? And what happened during that trip? Because it was live streamed in the Comelec social media platforms, but I want to hear it from the Miru side. What was the trip about? What was the purpose of that trip? And what outcomes did it actually give to the system as it is?
Yes, I think there are a number of reasons, a number of goals or purpose for the trip for Comelec, because it's their first time working with us. So that although that they know that we design, develop, and manufacture our devices, they have not seen our manufacturing plant, for example. So that's one of the purpose for Comelec to visit Korea, to make sure that there is actually a manufacturing plant, and they were able to verify that there are actually 4 lines ready to manufacture for the 110,000 devices.
Okay, who were the participants of that trip?
For this last trip, just last week, there were 3 commissioners from Comelec and 5 directors and other stakeholders.
When Miru Systems went to that trip as a requirement for Comelec, who were the participants? Because I remember during the last committee hearing held last March,
Yes.
it was mentioned that a couple of watchdogs per se in other countries raised allegations or concerns about your devices. Who were those that participated that may be likened as a watchdog, in your opinion, sir?
Yeah, there were 3 commissioners, 5 directors from Comelec, and also their watchdogs, NAMFRO, CCPR, PPCRV, Lente, and Participate.
Okay, how was their tenor? Because I'm very sure that our viewers would want to know, were they actually apprised of how Miru Systems have their manufacturing plant in place, or your processes really full of, that ensures credibility and smooth processes? How was the tenor of that trip, in your personal opinion?
Yeah, my perception of them, actually, I think they were very neutral at first, and then after the visiting the manufacturing site and also seeing our devices, and when our staff explained what functions or features were within the devices, after that visit, after that tour, there was the press session, and they seemed to be pretty pleased with what they saw.
Looking beyond the 2025 elections, Ken, do you think Miru Systems would actually plant seeds of hope to having better democratic processes in the voting system? Do you think Miru Systems can provide that positivity during this 2025 elections and actually transcend beyond?
Yeah, we don't think beyond 2025 election. We focus for that election only right now, and as long as we do our best to provide the good device, reliable and a very accurate device, then I think I think that in itself we've done our part to improve for future elections.
Ken, I'm not sure if that vote buying is rampant here in the Philippines. But how can Miru Systems assure our public that as our provider, you can provide safeguards for that?
Yeah, that's a pretty tough question, because as far as what we can do with our solutions, we can provide best technology solutions, but buying buying votes
It's beyond your job
Yeah,
description.
I think that's beyond what we can do, because that's a human factor.
How about registrations? Can Miru Systems ensure that voter registration would be better or would be, seamless in this 2025 elections?
Well, we don't provide voter registration solutions here, although we did provide voter registration for other country. But we don't do voter registration or voter verification here, not yet. Yes.
Okay. Voting here in the Philippines takes a lot of time, Ken.
Yes.
It usually, you have to wake up very early, you have to line up, you have to go to the voting booths. How can you ensure that voting now in this 2025 election would be smoother, more efficient, so that it may give us a higher voter turnout, because some of the family members might say, oh, you go vote because it's faster, it just took me 15 minutes. How can Miru Systems ensure that it would be smoother, more efficient this 2025 elections?
Yeah. Couple of things that I can think of. For one, like I said, I mentioned that we started our business with high-speed scanners. So our scanning speed is much faster than the requirement that was in the tour. And also, there was definitely almost no jamming with our device, because it has auto alignment, which will automatically strain the ballot papers when it's fed in. So there will be almost no jam. So that would not stop or delay from voter to vote.
What can Miru Systems tell our kababayans to look forward to during this 2025 elections? How can it make their lives easier for that day? Because we live in such a diverse community, Ken, as you've seen in our streets. First question is, what can they look forward to? Our diverse communities. And second, sir, how can we ensure that the delivery of your devices and equipments be on the place that it needs to be without delay?
Training and rollout is part of our responsibility. So we have to work very closely with Comelec to make sure that we provide proper training at all levels. We would have, for example, we would have 82 offices throughout the country to provide trainings and proper support, as well as for the user friendliness. We do have added new features. Of course, that's also following the TOR, which those features were not included in the previous election. So, for example, for one, there's a keypad for vision impaired voters.
Oh, the blind can vote now.
Yes, okay. Yes, with the earphone, and also this is dual system, by the way. You have a ballot scanning device, or that portion, that module, and you also have a DRE touchscreen.
Okay.
So it's a combination. So, for example, certain places, certain areas can use touchscreen DRE, and whereas other areas can use the paper ballots.
Gleaning from what you've just said, Ken.
Yes.
Our blind kababayans can vote, PWDs can vote, and easier access with regard to the voting process as it is. You've mentioned earlier about training and capacity building with regard to the process.
Yes.
I know you've explained already that you've put up 82 offices, or you're going to train election officers. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's our plan, yes.
Okay. When you train them, would it be only during the election day itself, or days that would follow with the counting, with things like that? Walk me through that process, Ken.
The training definitely has to start way before the election day. We would have a first line of training and the second line of training. So the training has to be propagated to lower levels to make sure that we train thoroughly to all, I believe, up to 45,000 staff, and for the rollout, we've got to make sure that we deliver on time according to the schedule provided by Comelec, and then we would have a constant collaboration with Comelec, including biweekly management meeting.
You know, in my show, Ken, I always ask questions not written in my script.
Yes.
So my first question is Miru Systems Limited actually, are you concerned about all of these allegations that are coming in, you know, cases filed by this and this? Or are you focusing on what is the subject on hand, which is delivering the devices?
Yeah. I don't know the. I know of a few allegations, some other things. I don't even pay attention to them, because our job is to make sure that we focus on what we deliver, and at the end of the day, that's going to speak for itself. If we deliver a very reliable and accurate device for Comelec and the people of Philippines.
Before wrapping this up, Ken, what is your most favorite thing about the Philippines as of now?
Favorite things? Wow, that's the most difficult question that you asked all day. Yeah, there's so many. It's hard for me to point one out, but I think it's the people, and just people are the best people in the world, I think. Most friendly, for sure.
On behalf of Manila Times, Ken, we thank you for your participation in Prime Times with Attorney Leah, and we hope to get you again in the next succeeding interviews. We're talking about the election, so you know how important our right to suffrage is. And this has been another episode of Prime Times with Attorney Leah. I wish you all a good day.